So, the Mario Kart World Direct came out and barely revealed anything new. The Nintendo Switch 2 price adjustments were revealed and the game is still $80. And yet I'm still excited for this game. Regardless of all the negative talk about the game, nothing has ever truly turned me off. Now, I'm not going to try to convince anybody to buy or play this game, especially with that ridiculous price tag, but I just wanted to make a video to express my personal and general thoughts. You know, it's truly unfortunate that this game barely has any good reception at all online at this point, except for the few that aren't so nitpicky and expressing their downsides to the game, which, you know, fair. The game hasn't done the best job at selling most people to it, but I can't say the same for me. And that's what this video is for. Gonna start this off talking a little bit about the mechanics, free roams, items, etc. Mainly the new stuff. I put a little effort into this video, you know, a little like or something would be cool, or you don't really have to, I don't really care. Moving on, I think I'll start off talking about what the game is trying to sell us the most, and that's the world. Me and I know many others have always loved what Double Dash started with, including entire tracks within other tracks. Daisy Cruiser and Peach Beach, Mushroom City under GCN Rainbow Road, Donut Plains under SNES Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8, Toad's Harbor under Nintendo 64 Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8. It's honestly kind of funny that 3 different Rainbow Roads have separate tracks under them, but this exact idea is what I love to see. And now we're getting an entire world that's completely connected? Like, oh my God damn, this is peak! Now obviously the tracks are pretty spread out, so you're not going to see most things within most other tracks, other than a few cases like Starview Peak, where at this intermission specifically, over this tall ass glacier, you can make out a bit of Sky High Sundae and DK Pass. That's not even my main point. Since the world is structured the way it is, and tracks are carefully placed in each biome, you have cases like the glider section and Airship Fortress looking 10 times better now that the dark crumbled volcano scenery is here. Making Sky High Sundae partially an ice theme track also makes way more sense with the Ice Cream Sundae aesthetic. The map, including all these different types of regions and biomes, makes it feel and look like a Mario game, with themed areas from the 2D games as our track. But not to say this is a bad thing, I still think fitting retros and nitros all over the map was such a fire idea, and I haven't even played the game yet. I just think it looks like it works. But with the world so perfectly constructed to fit tracks everywhere on the map, it makes me wonder how is the DLC gonna go. Now I know the obvious answer was to just have us traverse through different islands, but for all we know, a cloud could come out of nowhere and boom, Cloud Top Cruise and Sky Garden. You truly never know with Nintendo. Something I never thought I needed in a Mario Kart game in the big 2025 is a physics system. Depending on when or where you're at in a race, the item usage is truly something else. Like, now that blue shells that hit first place in the water portions of tracks now send a wave in the vicinity that's trickable, like, that's insane. Speaking of tricks though, the massive upgrade that the trick system has received is immaculate. Not only can you trick more than once, not only can you trick while flying in the air, but to trick off of another player's head, there is gonna be so many crazy disrespectful clips online, and I'm all here for it. The clips I've seen from the people who've played at the demo experiences also kind of prove that tricks are just like phenomenal. Whether it was tricking like 70 times in the air or bouncing off of these poles, tricking has never been more fun to pull off. Even if it doesn't look like it gives you any massive speed boost, but it's also kind of satisfying to do still. But getting back to the physics, it's the little things that getting hit by a blue shell will sometimes completely flip you over your head, and sometimes you might just lose your speed. Same thing with getting hit by cars on the street. The consequences are mostly going to be different from the last. And I love this, because not every time do you need to be punished to all high hell from suffering to a hazard. We in 8 were atrocious with this idea. A single item could ruin your race entirely, and there wouldn't be nothing you can do about it. Now getting hit by items will still mess you up, but it won't mess you up, if you get me. I think these changes can really make the races more unique, and if there's more similar cool hidden details to like how the shock brings in the rain, I think the physics system is going to be great. Mixed in with the item usage overall, it's looking to be radically more different from the games before, but more on the items later. Ever since we got that slight teaser of the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, I was already addicted to the new character design. Some would say because it looked like the Wonder art style brought into 3D, but I think it was more than that. I mean, I guess that does play a part, but I think it's still more than that. I know DK for one took some time to adjust to for others, but you know, seeing the big guy in the Bonanza trailer made up for it in my opinion. Now I bring up DK to help prove my point, which all comes down to one thing, and that's the expressiveness. Hence why I brought up Wonder, since that game seems to be the first push in making the characters more expressive. Just look at this picture for example. Look at how Peach looks in Mario Kart World, and look at how stuck she looks in Mario Kart 8. Now don't get me wrong, Mario Kart 8 is a gorgeous game, but the character models, unless you're tricking or passing somebody by, were always pretty subpar. The way Mario will look at his invisible rear view mirror to see items behind him, the way characters will jump around and bounce before drifting, these are fun details, but so far that was pretty much just character animations. Let me address the elephant in the room and talk about the whimsy and goofy new cast of characters. Off rip, I gotta say I'm a fan. I think playing as a Pokey, a Conker, a Snowman, Cow, or Penguin is a wild idea. I just love the fact that all Mario Kart Hazard enemies are now getting the chance to finally be playable. Which, by the way, I'm still banking on my theory that there's going to be more unlockable characters in free roam. I go over this a little bit more in my last Mario Kart World video if you haven't checked it out. I'll link it in the description. But while all the new enemies are cool, on the other hand, I'm curious about the cuts, or at least the characters who we knew were in a Mario Kart game before and aren't here now. I think the obvious cuts like the crossover characters in maybe Metal, Tanuki Mario, and Pink Gold, and Cat Peach makes sense, but why is Dry Bowser and Petey Piranha and the Kongs not here? The Koopalings have advertisements in the game, so maybe they are here, but we just haven't seen them yet. But then again, are they really gonna have a surprise reveal for the Koopalings of all characters? I guess I wouldn't be mad, just, questionable choices. I hope I'm speaking too soon for the others, but we'll just have to wait and see. You know what, while I'm at it, I might as well mention that King Babam, Poochie, Kamek, Peachette, Honey Queen, the Miis, and DK Jr. are also not returning. I'm not going to list all of the arcade characters, just the mainline ones. Out of the ones I just mentioned, Kamek and the Miis are also up there with some of the most questionable cuts similar to Kong's and Petey. Honestly, Kamek should have been playable. We just got bro back in the BCP and he's gone again just like that. If it was because of the crystal ball item, that could have been a Wonder Flower instead. I think a Wonder Flower item would work way better and give some representation to the new recent 2D Mario. I'm still hoping for Petey and King Babam to at least show up in a later DLC, because why does Wiggler get to stay but the other goated bosses get cut? I'm just now realizing that all this talk makes it seem like I'm upset with the character roster when that's not the case. I'm just sharing my genuine thoughts and criticisms with the new cuts, more like. At the end of the day, I love the new guys, and I hope the old guys, excluding the crossover characters, return. But not dead ass. Stay out of my Mario Kart, you filthy pieces of Moving on. Since the outfits kind of separate characters, I can't be the only one who kind of wishes that some of the outfits were power-ups. Now that I'm speaking on it, maybe I can see why the alternate Mario, Peach, and Bowser skins aren't in the game, because they're probably saving them for outfits of their respective characters, but then there's also just no power costumes anywhere at what we've seen, so what's going on? A simple Fire, Ice, or Bubble Flower color swap would be so nice for some characters. Build their outfit for Mario, Luigi, Toad and Toadette, the Penguin, Acorn. Hell, a simple cape throwback would be so clean. I still love the road trip outfit ideas and, the Mario Odyssey references within them, but, I wish some characters at least got one power-up outfit. I'm 100% positive DLC outfits are going to be considered sometime down the line, but damn, I kind of wish we had some of these now in the base game. That's enough on the characters though. At the end of the day, again, I love how big the roster is. I'm 99% sure there's going to be more to it in the base game. I love the outfits, and I just kind of wish there was more to it at the same time. I wanted to put these two segments together since essentially you can't have one without the other. I mean, races in Mario Kart without items is just any other racing game out there, but starting with the items, the new ones in the series consist of the Golden Shell, Coin Box, Kamek, and the Dash Food item. The Ice Flower, Hammer, and Feather aren't technically new, but it's the first time all three have returned in actual races. And they're all rather different in this entry too. The Ice Flower had a more unique use in Tour, I have to admit though. This new version so far doesn't really feel or affect other players any differently than the Fire Flower, which is kind of sad knowing in Tour it locked your controls and you slid across the ground in one direction for a couple of seconds, which makes sense since whoever you hit turns into a literal block of ice, not this snowy burnout effect, which I will admit does look kind of cool. The hammer also from Tour is pretty different in this game as well. It never threw out 4 to 5 hammers 3 separate times. In fact, unless you were in a frenzy, you only threw 3. They did hone in like a red shell sometimes too, which is a pretty cool thing, but it doesn't seem like they do that anymore. And I think I prefer how it is now, with the hammer staying on the track for a couple of seconds, creating new hazards for other players. I'm also pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Tour you couldn't throw the hammers backwards. I knew you could throw other items backwards, but I don't know if you could throw the hammers back. And since you can do that in this game, it has more opportunities to be an even better middle of the pack item. And then the feather. Last seen in actual traditional races since the very first game, finally makes its return. And it's not much difference between the item before and now. I mean, you still get your big jump, not much else to say, except there is, but I'll go more in depth with that later. From the footage I've seen, the boomerang is looking like the best item to have in the middle of the pack, since it's quick and you still got your 3 separate throws with it. They did get rid of boomerangs coming back into your second item slot after throwing it and hitting an item box, but I don't really see this as a nerf since the item is already kind of really good on its own. With 24 players, potentially around 4 to 6 people will be throwing these around in the middle of the pack, causing all types of chaos. Every other traditional item like your mushroom, coins, bomb, boombox, green and red shell, banana, and fire flower seem unchanged, except for the goofy ass cartoon explosion effect when a bomb or blue shell explodes. I still think these are very funny, cool, detailed changes. And I'm also glad to see that dodging a blue shell with the mushroom is still a thing, thankfully. But besides the new item changes, some of the staple power items in the games are mostly different now too. The star, for one, might be the only power item in this series that has been strictly consistent throughout its lifetime as an item. You're invincible and fast with it in every game. You can't go wrong with that. The golden mushroom is 100% the best item in the game though. From all the footage I've seen of good experienced Mario Kart players playing the demo, the golden always gets them into a top spot, like without fail. Once you start cutting in on the off-road, you jump up places like it's nothing. It's actually way too broken for its own good, but let me put some respect on the golden's name. The item was always pretty good. But then on the other hand, the shock and the bullet bill are interesting. The shock only lasts around like 4 seconds, and the bullet bill doesn't completely fuck over anybody it speeds through. But then the mega mushroom got a huge buff considering the shock doesn't shrink you down to normal anymore, and it looks like you get a constant speed boost too. Now, based on some of these changes, most people have already made up their minds about the items, but I'd rather argue these changes were made for a better reason than worse. Since most power items besides the star and the mega mushroom were nerfed, specifically the bullet and the shock, there shouldn't be a large gap between the 24 racers. I think the decision for these changes comes down to the chaos having to be all in one place. A shock will last so little, but since everyone is so close together, 18th could go up like 10 to 15 places damn near. And since the players behind the shock user aren't affected anymore, they can catch up too. Now that probably sounds like some Mickey Mouse Clubhouse shit for the players in the back, but I kinda like that, and let me explain. Mario Kart races are typically always chaotic. That's just one of the charms of kart racers. You don't really get this idea when half of the lobby's either front running way ahead or others are bagging in the back for busted items. These changes feel like they were made to stop this and keep races contained. It also feels like they were obviously made to directly counteract the Mario Kart 8 strats, which is, you know, it's fair. I can understand being disappointed about it, but it's not even the first time this has happened. Most new games in the franchise do this. We destroyed snaking from DS since only karts can do it, and obviously bikes were superior in that game. In Mario Kart 7, they completely removed bikes since they were too OP and weak. And then 8 made gliding infinitely worse. I know you can still turn on motion gliding, but it's not as good as 7's, and you get the point. Now, other than explaining why the generational history of changing core mechanics throughout the games isn't brand new, but it makes sense to keep races more centered. And again, you still have your star, mega, and golden mushroom power items that are still pretty busted. It's not like being in the back won't be completely ass since the shock and bullets are nerfed. We'll have to wait and see how the items really feel when the game is out, but I think these changes aren't the worst thing ever. It's not hard to say the races in the game are gonna feel a whole lot more crazier. I'm saying that now, but God, let me get Mario Karted from 3rd to 20th and the controller will be thrown out my window, mark my words. That's how I think general races and the main gameplay with items will go. I could be wrong and the items are unbalanced as fuck, but, you know, just like my goat, you know, I can't be mad at that, but if it is, then it is what it is. This is Mario Kart we're talking about. Wait, before we move on, post-editing me here, I have no idea how old me forgot to talk about the new Chemic item, coin box, or coin shell. I listed all 3 items in the new items, I just didn't say shit about them, but I'll do that right now. For one, the coin box is actually returning from Tour. I played that game to this day and somehow forgot it's not a new item. That aside, there isn't much to say about it. It's one of the many new ways to gain more coins for the expanded 20 coin count total. God, that was a mouthful. But this item seems more helpful to the other racers rather than not, since it plays similar to how it was in Tour, and you know, where coins drop to the ground letting other racers pick them up. But in Tour, that was for the point system. Now they increased their max speed. This sounds like an interesting idea, but I can imagine players with an already maxed out 20 coins holding on to it, maybe until a shock hits to get rid of it, instead of letting other players behind catch up. That'll probably be a rare occurrence though, I does sound very situational, but not to act like it's going to be complete ass. I think the item is ideally going to be used for balancing in a way similar to how the coins were in Mario Kart 8. I can't say exactly how, but that's how I feel like it's gonna go down. The coin shell seems to have a similar idea, but a much more fun execution. Other racers can still gain the coins it leaves behind, but the big difference is that it acts like a blue shell, meaning it only takes the middle path, it sticks to the ground, and only a boombox and maybe a bomb can stop it. Now unlike a blue shell, when it speeds ahead to first place, it just explodes into more coins on its own, away from whoever's in first place. I actually like this idea because it raises even more awareness for the players up ahead, and it's a pretty profitable method for the players in the back to increase their speed and catch up. And now for the most unique new item added into the roster of many items, maybe since the Lucky 7, Kamek's Crystal Ball. We actually don't have an official name for this yet. You know, the Mario Wiki just calls it Kamek, but I kind of doubt that's the actual name, and they didn't drop it in the Mario Kart Direct. Maybe it does have an official name somewhere, but I haven't seen it yet, and if you have, let me know, please. Anyways, this item is a lot. At first, I thought it was just another way of unlocking outfits, which, I mean, it is, but quickly through more and more demo footage, it was starting to look a lot more than that. Not only does Kamek change your outfit to a random enemy, but that same enemy will become a hazard? I think this is another valid theory to assume more characters that we haven't seen yet will be playable, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. The new obstacles, though, can be pretty damn tough to dodge. Like, what exactly was this guy supposed to do here?
My bomb.
I know, but you got saved.
Oh.
Wait. Yo!
I think this is a perfect nerf to stop front runners and a pretty interesting idea knowing the outcome will be mostly different every time. This item is just really intriguing to me so far, but enough of post-editing me. Let's move on to the next subject. With every new Mario Kart comes a new gimmick or mechanic, whether it's a visually pleasing change like underwater driving and anti-gravity, or a groundbreaking gameplay change like tricks and mini turbos. There's always something new in the newest entries to make the gameplay feel fresh. For Mario Kart World, I'd say we have the prior, introducing wall riding, rail riding, and charge jumps. Now, based on what we've seen so far, I don't think wall riding and rail riding are going to be as game-changing as mini turbos or tricks, but I think they have incredible potential we'll probably see utilized a bit better sometime down the line. That charge jump though, oh yeah, now that's a top 5 gimmick right off the bat. Now this isn't me underestimating wall and rail riding and overrating charge jumps. I've already said wall and rail grinding can be insane, but you can't even access them most of the time without charge jumping. I think being able to simply just jump at any time whenever you want offers so many possibilities. Avoiding items, jumping on players, using it to take inner routes with rail riding, easy access to wall riding, and probably the coolest of them all, comboing with the feather to take shortcuts. Like I mentioned before, the feather isn't as simple as it looks. Avoiding items and obstacles was the no-brainer, and yeah, in SMK it was used to take shortcuts as well, but not only can you use it to do all that, but there's also alternate paths available with it too. I find this to be a much more interesting use rather than just jumping over this gap, but I guess that's just me. And not to put too much shade on Super Mario Kart shortcuts, I'm aware they can be crazy. And to give wall and rail riding more credit, take a look at this clip from the Mario Kart Direct. Based off this clip alone, it has boosted the intrigue factor by a mile. This clip has done numbers on showcasing the potential parkour in a Mario Kart game. It looks insane! And that's exactly what I love to see, engaging gameplay that'll get everybody hyped. If there is more uses like this in other tracks, oh, I can't wait to see how competitive or the speedrunning community will demonstrate new strats. And we can't forget about the new rewind feature. Probably the most generous addition for people who like to practice and actually get better at certain tracks and, you know, won't have to repeatedly start the race over and over again to get back to the specific point for shortcuts or whatever. I'm glad it's staying in single player modes though, because now, obviously, there'd be a lot of problems if this was online. It's looking like it's shaping up to be one of the pretty good new additions in the franchise, since it'll save a lot of people a lot of time. They finally decided to change up traditional Mario Kart. Grand Prix is entirely different, Knockout Tour is a brand new idea. I mean, if you haven't played CTGP on Mario Kart Wii, Versus Mode gives us a ton of new creative freedom, and time trials plus the new rewind feature is looking pretty nice. Oh, and you know, Battle Mode is back. More on that later. Let me first talk about how crazy it is that this is the first Mario Kart in the history of its lifetime where 3-lap tracks isn't the norm. I mean, we can drive virtually anywhere. You heard what the guy said.
And drive virtually everywhere in this world.
one of my biggest things I'm looking forward to with this game is to see how far the boundaries are. You know, like how far out in separate ways can we go in a race. Lakitu should still pick us up from going backwards or falling off the map, but that's not exactly what I mean. All of the demo footage we've seen so far of Grand Prix and Knockout Tour, players were held back with the steer assist, prohibiting them from trying new areas and shortcuts. I'm just trying to see what else we can do. I think now's a good time to talk about the considerably long straightaway intermission. I've seen so many people turned off from this, and you know, fair enough. I've also seen some cool ass intermissions that got people excited, like the Shy Guy Bazaar to Airship Fortress one. I think, or at least I'd hope, there are more interesting ones like that, and you know, knowing that there's a whopping 118 different intermission tracks, I like to think my odds of more good ones to bad tracks is high. It'll maybe justify the lame ones if there are more cool ones like this. I've also seen that all of the SNES retro tracks that aren't labeled as regular tracks are some of the intermission tracks. I really love this idea. Instead of making 24 players racing on such small courses, either mix them together or combine them with longer tracks. I really hope there are some surprise GBA ones though, that we just can't tell from the map, because god damn, not a single super circuit track seen anywhere. Like, man, that's rough, buddy. But like I mentioned in the item races and the mechanics portions of the video, I think there's a multitude of other things within the game, like the items, charge jumps, shortcuts, etc., that'll make the long intermissions still entertaining, or at least not as much of a bore as I've seen people say. I've talked about this a bit in my last Mario Kart World video, and I thought I might as well go over it a bit here since they play during the intermissions, but I cannot wait to listen to that gorgeous soundtrack for the first time. For the past couple of days, Nintendo has been dropping these neat little snippets of using the binoculars to view the world, with even more music playing in the background. I think having somewhat of an anniversary OST is dope, if that makes any sense. You know, just remix songs from all over the franchise. Even though we haven't heard any Mario Party or RPG songs yet, question mark. But so far I'm loving what I'm hearing, and experiencing all of the intermissions and the music for the first time is gonna be so nice. In any case, that's the main gist of Grand Prix though. Huge road trips turn into races where we drive from one track to the next, listening to good music, and personally, I do not dislike this idea so far. I gotta say, I'm fascinated. Also, for the people who just can't get around the intermissions at all, you weirdos, but thankfully you can just turn them off and play your 3-lap track still, so you know, the people who are complaining about that don't have to be massively disappointed anymore. Moving on to what's probably gonna keep this game alive for years on end is the Knockout Tour, our very first Mario Kart Battle Royale game mode, essentially. I think this game mode is what the series needed. Everybody I've seen who've played or have seen a good amount of gameplay have already expressed their pure hype and excitement from the Knockout Tour alone. I think having a game mode where you actually get punished for falling behind is great. Pure skill is gonna be needed for this one. I can just tell being the last man standing in an online Knockout Tour is gonna hit a whole lot harder than just beating 23 other players in a regular point system race. But we'll have to wait and see how that'll turn out. Next up is Versus Mode, the game mode that has some pretty interesting new changes and creativity added to it this time around. I'm really loving the new lobby being the open world instead of just Mii's on the globe. Not like there was anything wrong with that, it's just, you know, it's better to have us go anywhere we want while we wait for the next race to start. Nonetheless, if these clever new changes can do what I think they can, then this game mode is practically a cup creator potentially. I made this quick edit to showcase all of the confirmed cups and their tracks within them, excluding the special cup because we just haven't seen that yet. But with this picture we have nearly everything mapped out. And as you can see, there's a lot of tracks that aren't connected normally, but since we can choose where we want to go in Versus Mode, you can start at maybe Mario Circuit, head to Boo Cinema, then Starview Peak and end on Cheep Cheep Flute, or start at Toad's Factory, go to Peach Stadium to Donna Donna Jungle and end on Faraway Oasis. They even made note of this in the direct.
You can even take the road less traveled and choose routes that aren't in Grand Prix or Knockout Tour.
Now this is huge. Like, I'm not even sure there is another way of experiencing all of the intermission tracks and any other official cups unless Nintendo is hiding some more, question mark. And I know we're only limited to only connecting tracks that are relatively closer to each other, but it's still so nice that we can choose our own way. Something else I hope we'll be able to unlock after completing all of Grand Prix and Knockout Tour cups is a Double Dash style all cup tour. This would be so fire for this game. Just a long marathon of every track in the game in one fell swoop. Like, why not go all out with the road trip idea and let us play everything all at once? But now we can talk about the battle mode. Off rip, is it a letdown for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Yeah. By a lot? Not really. It's only really missing Shine Thief and Bomb on Blast. Now, I didn't mention Renegade Roundup because that just sounds like hell to play with 24 players, but also because I think it'll be replaced by a new game mode that I'll get to in a second. I think Battle Mode will be fine for what it is at launch. Coin Runners and Balloon Battle are the battle modes anyway, so at least they got that going on. I've seen some people complain about the maps and how they are just sectioned off tracks, but at least it's doing better than whatever the hell Mario Kart 8 had going on at its launch. The tracks this time around seem to be built around the open traversal areas anyway, so I think it'll work this time. I've also seen that there's a pipe system in the free roam, so oh my god, please tell me this means Pipe Plaza can return. It's easily my favorite battle map, and I miss it. I know we officially got Big Donut back. Let's bring back some other OGs as well. Getting back on track with the game modes. While I do think they are going to get rid of Renegade Roundup, I also think they'll replace it with the brand new hide and seek game mode. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. First of all, we have a massive open world now. I think giving us a game mode that has to deal with said massive open world besides the missions, seeking out collectibles, and racing, obviously, would be interesting. It could play somewhat similar to Renegade Roundup, but only with having cops/seekers find the robbers/hiders. And instead of being freed from a button again, the hiders would join the seekers permanently, and they'll have to find the rest of everyone as quick as possible. And whoever has the shortest time after a couple of rounds win. I don't know how they'll section it off. No way it's going to be the entire map, but I believe the devs can make it work. Secondly, I should mention if this hide and seek game mode was in the base game, we probably would have seen it by now. But here's the thing. I don't think Bomb on Blast and Shine Thief are completely gone either. My assumption is that they're making them DLC sometime down the line. No way is the DLC going to just add new tracks and nothing else. If they really want to make it worth it, I think they should add characters, items, and game modes. Note, if items are DLC, it'll probably have to be a free update patch, but there's actually a lot of potential with downloadable content. If they want this game to last long, they should go all out. I'd hope that adding new content and a free DLC patch is the move. Then again, knowing Nintendo, they will be charging $20 for it in the future, unfortunately. If they want to take this DLC route though, I think it should release in waves similar to how Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was. They could 100% split Shine Thief, Bomb on Blast, and a new hide and seek game mode separately throughout 3 waves of DLC content. I could totally be wrong about all of this, and maybe we do only have 2 battle modes and it is paid DLC, and maybe there is no hide and seek. Then, you know, that'd kind of suck, but I like my idea better, so f it. And finally, we have free roam. I'm gonna make this pretty short, well, because we don't have enough gameplay to go off of right now, and I think I want to make a full video on free roam when the game is fully out. For now, I think I'll say I'm fully aware I'm gonna lose a whole lot of hours of my life on this game mode. I'm a big Mario fan. The open world has everything I love about the mainline games: fun platforming, open sandbox, searching for collectibles, and wonderful music in the background. If you have told me this was our mainline 3D Mario for a while, I would be slightly disappointed, but then I'd realize how much effort was put into this game for its beautiful world to convey its interconnectivity. There's more I could say, but I'll leave it off here. Well, actually, I have to mention that's cool as fuck that we can drive through Daisy's palace and Shy Guy Bazaar. I don't know if this is a battle track or if it's just here to be here, but oh my god, I love this. This is just a small section of the map too. Who knows what other secrets and interesting set pieces we could discover in the world. It's things like this that get me overly excited for this game. Wow. That was a lot. When I first started writing the script for this video, I just wanted to briefly go over everything I found interesting and what I was looking forward to in the game, but over the time, it quickly turned out to be much more than that, but I'm happy with the results. This game truly has a lot going on, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. June 5th marks the new era in the Mario Kart franchise. Over a decade, we've been racing on Mario Kart 8, and only now it comes to an end. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all on the track.